Hi, Sandy Casella here, and I'm here with Lynn Courey today with the Sashbear Foundation. And what I want to talk about today is the upcoming Sashbear Walk and a little bit about Sashbear and the connection with us, with Casella Homes Real Estate. So I'll do that at the end, but I'll just get you to introduce yourself, Lynn, if you don't mind. That would be great.
Sure. Thank you so much, Andy. I'm so excited to be with you and with everyone here today. So my name is Lynn Courey. I'm the founder of the Sashbear Foundation, and it's an organization that is providing skills, we say strategy, support, and hope to families who are supporting a loved one struggling or living with borderline personality disorder, emotion dysregulation, and a related challenges.
Okay, and Sash Bear is located, well, I know you service everywhere in Canada. Where are you based?
Yes, the organization really started here in Etobicoke and Toronto and Ontario. And we started the organization in 2011 after I unfortunately lost my daughter to suicide after her battle with a borderline personality disorder. The organization is located here, like I said, in Toronto, and provide, however, services across the country from coast to coast. We do it online through Zoom and as well in person.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing your story. If you want to tell a little bit more about your story, feel free to do that. Do you want to take a minute just to maybe elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. Um, I always say, have we were a family of four with two daughters, and my oldest one started at a young age to struggle with her own emotion. She was an athlete, a swimmer, and I always like to kind of share that quick story about when she was swimming. She was coming out of a race, and often she was first in Canada and crying. And then for us, we didn't understand why she was crying. When I said, "Why you're first? You should be happy." I don't understand why you're crying. Stop crying and enjoy your win. And then in fact, what she wanted was to improve her time. So for me, as a parent, I was invalidating really her feeling. And it was really difficult for her. So this is just like kind of a quick example, but her life was a bit like this, very sensitive to her own goal of what she was trying to achieve. And then as an athlete, like I think this was very difficult for her to not to be able to handle her emotion. And for us, we didn't understand what was happening to her. So as a teenager, like things didn't improve. I would say, with my best intention, trying to help her out through her struggle or emotion dysregulation, I was really not helping her out because I didn't have any skills. I didn't know what to do. And for her, like her dysregulation probably got deeper and deeper into her life and really struggling. So, as I mentioned, like she was an athlete and hoping to make the Olympics in 2012 at the time. And then she had a full scholarship to go into the US, and things there didn't get better. And after a suicide attempt, we were trying to find services for her here in Canada and Toronto and anywhere actually in Canada. We could not find the services that she needed. And for us too, the skills that we needed to be able to support her more effectively. And we found like a service in the US, but after 6 weeks of treatment, we were told she needed months, another 6 months, and there was no insurance at the time for that, and we didn't have any insurance, so we needed to bring her home. And at that time, she really felt that she was a burden to the family, knowing that we weren't able to sustain the cost, and this is when she took her life. And
Yeah,
for
and
us,
that's yeah,
it was hard.
it's so heartbreaking to think that that someone would feel like that they're a burden to you, and and get to that point where they feel like that's their only option, right? um and I think as parents, like it's so hard to watch our children suffer like that and not know what to do. And I think you said it, like you don't have the skills, you don't know what you don't know. And I just think for you to have like taken that adversity, and I study mindset a lot, and we learn, you know, that there's good and bad in everything. And to have taken that adversity that you've gone through and to turn it into what you've turned it into, because I know we'll get into this a little bit, but the number of families that you've helped through that adversity, because you could have just got stuck in a loop of poor me and the system sucks, and you know something's got to be done and somebody needs to do something. But as a family, you guys took that upon yourself to go and do that, and to help so many families along the way is just like absolutely, I'm just in awe of that. Because here you are today still doing it, and I've seen firsthand, I mean, with our family, how the Family Connections program has helped us, and also the other families that have gone through Family Connections. So that's just, it's incredible to me. So thank you for that. I mean, your daughter's life, Sasha's life, had to have some meaning here. And you know, if that's what it was, you've taken that and run with it. So um tell me a little bit about what Sashbear does, like basically who they help.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure. Like, I think I would like to just to complete what I was saying and to bring it back to answer your question. Sasha had written in her journal that the skills she was learning that at the time was the DBT skills was as essential as her as water to survive. And in a perfect world, those kids would be available to anyone in need of it and the family members, and those would be free. And then when in her dying bed, she was telling us that she was ready to come home. And unfortunately, she could not come home. Now it was too late. This is where my husband and I look at ourselves and said, we need to do something. We need to transform this adversity to hope. We need to help other families to have access and not to have, like at the time, we needed to drive 9 hours to go to Boston for an hour and a half of skills and then to come back and drive 9 hours back because there was nothing available here in Canada to help families to be able to support their loved one while they were struggling or trying to have a life worth living. And this is the reason why we started the foundation. We said we need to raise awareness, first of all, on the disorder, on mental health, that it's okay not to be okay. And then a checkup from the neck up should be as easy as a checkup that we do on a regular basis for our own body, right? When we go see a doctor and we have a heart problem, we're not mentioning that we have like a trouble with our foot. And then it's the same thing when our kids are struggling, or us, when we see that we have difficulty supporting our loved one, we need to be able to have access to skills and services that will help us to be more effective in helping our loved one. And this is what we do with the Sashbear Foundation. And then we had the leisure to meet the person that created the program, Perry Hoffman and Ellen Frasetti, and to have access to their training so we could bring Family Connection in Canada, but in order to be able to disseminate this program free of charge to anyone in need that wants to support more effectively their family. And this is what we've been doing since 2012, that learning the Family Connection program in order to be able to disseminate, train other families, as it's a volunteer-based program. Then we learn the skills, we teach the skills, and then we're able to help other families almost as a paying it forward. And like any other things, everything costs. So in order to provide, do the training to help other family member, and this is how we started to do the walk and do fundraising to be able to help more, because in 2014, we started to do it in an institution with some institution here in Toronto. And in 14, we said we need to help more families. And we brought it into the community. But then we needed location to do it. We needed to have like more leaders, so we need to train more people. We needed to have like the material. So we started with one group in 2014, and now we do 80 groups
Wow,
and
80 a year.
80 groups a year across the country and help close to 1,000 families a year.
Yeah, how many people are in each group that you do? So 80 a year, and there's 12 to 15 people in
Yeah,
each group, correct?
exactly. It's about,
Yeah.
depending of the group, it's around 12 and 15 people per group, right? Exactly. And then we're able, because we do some in online, or most of them, the weekly group are done online. And then we're able to invite people to attend the program that fits best their situation. So if you have a loved one that is like, let's say 14 years old, then we're going to try to set you up in a group that is for under 18. If your kid or your loved one, because it could be a sibling, it could be a partner. Sometimes like it's the grandparents are supporting a grandchild, or it's a sibling or even a friend that wants to support another friend. So we try to put them in group that would fit best what they're going through, because the program we're offering is really like bringing people together to learn skills and to be able to apply the skills. So by exchanging example and similar example, sometimes it's easier to absorb what the skills means and how to apply it to make a difference in order to support our loved one that we love so much. And we want them to regain an authentic life, to regain a life worth living.
Yeah, and so you touched on something there. So it's not necessarily for just like parents who have a child who's emotionally dysregulated. It could be a sibling, it could be like any loved one in your life that is struggling. It could be a um yeah, sibling, it could be a parent, it could be your partner, right? So it's really for anybody who's struggling with someone who has a loved one. And I think
Mhm,
that the what I like about Sashbear, and I don't know, there probably is other organizations that I'm not aware of, but I know when my family was first going through mental health issues with a loved one, this is back a little while, there was no support for the family members. Everything was about the person who's struggling. And I can vividly remember having a conversation with the doctor and saying that the doctor needed to send me to, like, I need to see a professional because it wasn't me that was struggling, but the whole family unit was falling apart. And I said, I need to see a professional because I don't know what to do. And I vividly remember her saying, I can't send you to a professional. There's nothing wrong with you. And I said, no, like you need to do something, like you need to send me
mhm,
somewhere. And she said at the time, it was my family doctor, she said, I can't, because if I refer you, I can't even believe she said this. I'll get yelled at because there's nothing wrong with you. And I said, you don't understand. Like, if something happens to me, it's gonna, like, there's way more implications here because someone's got to take care of these kids and stuff. So what I found that there, and if that person who is struggling with a mental health issue, and most of the issues that they have is what keeps them from getting help, if they don't want help, then the rest of the family unit is just is struggling and they don't know what to do. And so my point is, what I love about Sashbear is it's helping the family members, because that's
mhm,
where this all starts. Like you say, you don't know what you don't know, and you may have three kids, and and one of them is more sensitive, is just a little bit different, and you don't understand what's going on, and it just leads to chaos in the family. And so if you can help the family, that whole ripple effect is huge. Like, you're helping the loved one because you're getting help, and you're helping the whole unit. And it's
mhm,
just that ripple effect is huge. So that's why I think I'm so passionate about Sash Bears, because we benefited from it as a family. I've seen what it can do for other people, and the fact that it's helping the loved ones is, I think, so
mhm.
important.
Totally. When you say, the well-being of the individual is intertwined with the well-being of the whole family. So to say there's nothing wrong with you, so we cannot refer you to someone to educate yourself, to become part of the solution. It's kind of very sad. in our society. And this is why this is one of the reasons Sashbear exists, to fill this gap. Because there's research that were done, and one of them was from Hoffman, showing that the more involved emotionally is the person supporting the person that is struggling, the better this person will fare. So this is key for us to be able to be educated, to gain strategies, to be able to support our loved one in a very effective way, for them to be able to regain. And not only that, like it helps as well to model that it's important to take care of ourselves, right? If we model this, then our loved ones say, this is working for them, in the sense that I see a difference and they support me like in a effective way. Maybe I could do something for myself too. And then what happens is, when we see our loved one struggling, it creates suffering for us. Yeah, maybe there's nothing wrong with us, and they're suffering, and we don't want to be suffering, right? We want to be there to use this energy instead, to be able to support more effectively our loved one, and to be able to empower them. Because when we suffer, in a sense, like we see our loved one struggling, then emotion arise for us to raise up, and then suddenly we have a lot of fear, and our fear will tend to want to fix the problem for our loved one, or trying to solve things, or be there, or protect them. Then, in fact, this is a very nice dialectic when I think of it. In fact, yes, we want this, and we have to let them go. We have to empower them instead to find their own solution. And then we're transferring this energy to support them to find their own solution, to say, you're a capable individual, a capable person that is able to find a way for you to have a life worth living. How powerful this is, right?
Yeah, and that I like the dialectic. Are you talking about the dialectic? I mean, that's a new, something new to me over the last few years. But yeah, understanding that the more we're fixing things, the more we're not we're creating more of a problem when we start to do that.
Mhm.
And learning these skills through your program is really important, and seeing the difference it makes. How is, like, you're helping thousands of families a year, and how are you funded?
Very good question. Most of the money that we receive are for family members that went through the different program that we're offering. And why they do this? Because they feel that it made a difference in their life. Often family members say, you save our families, or our loved one. We're having a relationship with our loved one, something we didn't have before. And then they want to make sure that we're able to continue what we do and helping other families, because this is how they were helped themselves. Because families, other families, or people are giving back to the organization for other families to be able to have access. And this is what I would say, that over 75% of our funding come from families giving back to the organization.
My goodness. But all of your funding, is all the money that comes to you donation? You don't receive any government.
We do not receive any government funding. We do have some partnership with some organization that service families, and they ask us to do the Family Connection program for their institution or organization. So we get a little bit of funding from them, but I would say most of it comes from family members giving back. We do not receive any direct funding from the government, hoping that one day this will change. But at
Yes.
this time, the fundraising we do is really how the organization can do all the work that we provide to families.
Okay, I know. And it's a lot, because I know you have a wait list to get into your program. And if there's more funding, if there's more people that can facilitate the program, all of your facilitators are all volunteers. I understand that. And if there were more people, then you could obviously help more families, which I think would be huge.
Mm-hmm.
Your main fundraiser is the walk, the one that's coming up. Is that right?
That's right. Like we
Okay.
do a huge fundraising in May. For here in Toronto is May 26th, and we're hoping to raise like $200,000. And then it's people like you and other families that decide to um, fundraise and help their communities, like friends and relatives and families and people that they know to um, make a donation and their name and to make a difference for us. And it's very important, like we mentioned a little bit at the beginning, our story, right? That we were looking for services and there was no services. And it's excruciating. Like I said, the suffering, right? As much as we love our loved one, we feel like we're hopeless and we don't know um, how to help them as well, right? So the program that we're offering is really important. And what we try to do at Sashbear is provide services as a, I would say, continuity of care. When you sign up, then we will be offering you some services that you can use. Like we started in 2023, a program called the Starter Skills Set programming is it's a subset, let's say, of family connection skills or the DBT skills, or like that you can start using at the beginning, right as soon as you come in to to start making a difference for yourself. And then you can, if you want to continue with this, then you can do family connection. Because we know that when our loved one is struggling and we don't know what to do, it's really excruciating for all of us, right? In a sense, for the loved one, for the family members. And then to feel that you're not alone, that there's a few things you can try. And then you can go further down with the Family Connection program or have access to the Expert Ed series, right? Like the education series that we offer once a month. Everything we do is free of charge. We have an expert on a subject that it could be on DBT or it could be on a specific either emotion regulation or on how to understand how to express ourselves to be able to support our loved one more effectively with managing situation, right? Or learning how to recognize our own limits. So once a month, we have those programs available for families that want to listen to it and try to apply those skills. And then they can do the family connection program. Because for sure, if you sign up, let's say in May for the program, and the program will start at the beginning of June, you may not uh, do the program right away, but then you'll have access to other programming that you can learn strategies and skills and really develop hope that you're not alone, right? And you can
Yeah.
do something.
Yeah, and I think another important part of that is the stigma around borderline personality disorder. I do just want to, for those who don't know, DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy, and BPD is borderline personality disorder. And I know there's a lot of stigma around that, and I hadn't even honestly hadn't even heard of borderline personality disorder until 2022. And then we were smack dab in the middle of it and trying to figure out what to do in crisis, which is, we all know in a crisis you can't formulate your thoughts properly, but learning about it and then some of the information out there about borderline personality disorder is very disturbing because there's a lot of stigma around it. There's a lot of, in the past, there was a lot of stuff written that, it was very hard to treat. It's not treatable, when in fact, it very much is a treatable disorder, and people can recover and lead very, 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 very healthy, productive lives. And that happens with the help of the whole family, right? And that's where the Family Connections program comes in. So I think that
Mhm.
part of it's really important, the awareness, how much awareness you give around it. And I think this walk does a lot of that. Um, I,
Mhm.
I, you know, I I know so your goal, so the goal is 2,000, is 200,000. Is that for the Toronto? You have 5 walks this year, is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
And is that 200,000 for Toronto or total?
total.
Total, okay,
Exactly, for
okay.
total. And I want to go back to your saying exactly like BPD wanted the old manual, I would say the diagnostic manual, or even like in the education, like when you're at the university. Um, and I think of my daughter that was doing a major in psychology. They had a page, only one page on their manual, and then about BPD, and it was very dark. And in fact, today with all those evidence-based program, is a diagnostic that has a very good prognostic, right? We have, like you said, a dialectical behavioral therapy and other like evidence-based program that can be available and treated on a timely basis or a time. And if the services are available, people can have a life worth living, and they offer so much to our society, right? So we have to change this, remove the stigma, right? It's not because you have borderline personality disorder or emotion dysregulation that your life should end. There was one psychologist at some point who was saying, I may not tell the example accurately, but for me in my mind, I say it this way: is sometimes people with emotion dysregulation is have like they had a huge like motor of a 747 and a small Cessna type of plane. And then if you don't have the manual and thing like that, when you start, that everything will shake and parts will fly and things like this. But if you learn on how to start this and manage all the pieces of this one, you can go far and maybe you'll go even faster, right? But you need to learn how to manage your emotion, how to manage your sensitivity and understand it, right? Or like knowing which emotion give you the urge to act and react, and then to be able to manage it in a more effective way, right? And then for us as a person supporting them, we need to understand this too, right?
Yeah,
It's like I always think to a person that has like a peanut allergy, and then suddenly they have difficulty breathing and they're swelling and things like this. Are we telling them, "Hey, what's happening? Stop swelling, breathe like anybody," right?
yes, oh my
We don't
goodness,
say
yeah,
this.
yeah,
But then because like often like when we look at emotion dysregulation, it's more an internal experience that comes out like with big emotion, big reaction that we don't understand where it came from, right? Because it's not like an allergy that we understand. But this is why we need to educate ourselves. Say, yes, it makes sense. My loved one is sensitive, have high reactivity, and the return to their baseline is not like ours. So when we understand this, then we have maybe a benign interpretation or understand their perspective from their point of view and say, yes, it makes sense. And we can work together to maybe appease the reaction or the sensitivity. So this way, they can find a way to grow and flourish and become what they want to become, right? And they
yeah.
can offer, I would say, they can offer so much.
And I agree with you 100% there. And my thought is there's another dialectic there, and I had said earlier there's good and bad and everything, right? And I think sometimes what happens is we're looking at the downside of borderline, but there is an upside. Like people, like from my experience, people who have borderline, yes, they can be emotionally dysregulated, they can be angry, their emotions can rise fast, but they're also extremely loving, extremely passionate, extremely like just love people, and when they're on, like they can be so creative and everything else. And I think sometimes that needs to get focused on as well, because the focus tends to get on the dark side of it. Let's focus on both sides of it, because there's a lot of beauty in it too, right? Those emotions that are here can also be up here. And how do we just regulate it so we get more of those emotions that are up here, right? That part of it is so, like, I think is so key, because whatever we focus on expands. So we need to start
Mhm.
focusing on that as well. Like, how do we take that part of it
Mhm.
and use that to our advantage or to their advantage, right? Because
Mhm.
it's not all bad. It really isn't. It's just when it's when the when the emotions are more troubling, then we tend to focus on it, and that leads to so many other things. And
Mhm.
I think that part is really important. And so I want to get back to what you offer, and then because we're just in
Mhm.
the interest of taking up all your time, I want to get back to what you offer. So you have the Family Connections program, which is a 12-week program, and I personally think, like, I think if we could teach DBT or like DBT skills to everybody, youngsters in school as they're growing up, like, this world would be totally different, because the skills can be used everywhere. The skills you learn in the Family Connections program can be used in every aspect of your life, with all of your relationships, with your at work. Like, the skills are so universal and so basic, but not taught. And it's crazy how much it can change your life, and can change the lives of people around you. So you have the Family Connections program, which is a 12-week program. And
Mhm.
then before, so if so you, and in a few minutes, I'll get you to tell people how they can register for that, where to go.
Mhm.
And then before that, while you're waiting for that program to start, you can get into the starter series, which will give you kind of the basics to at least get you moving. Because I know, like, for me, waiting for that program to start, I was on a waiting list for a while, and waiting for that program to start is excruciating, because it's
Yeah.
like, there's help there, but you can't get it, and you don't know where to
Mhm.
start, you don't know what to do. And when you're in crisis, it's just it's impossible to figure out what's going on. So even
Mhm.
some little skills, if you can
Mhm.
latch on and start with those, is really important. And
Mhm.
how do people, I guess, sorry, because I'm now my mind's going all over. I don't want to forget this point though, about how people
Yeah.
find out about Sash Bear, because
Mhm.
that's a big point. Because I found out from a friend. I didn't find this out from any mental health organizations, from my doctor, any professionals. So the word really needs to get out to them about this
Yes.
program. But so you have the starter series, and then you go through the Family Connections program. From there, you would stay on as an alumni, and you can take advantage of the monthly webinars that you have, as well as just the connections with the people that you meet, because there's nothing like um, that connection with other people who just get it, and you don't have to,
Mhm.
they just understand what you're going through. Because if you've never been through it, you cannot understand, like,
Yeah.
anything. So
Mhm.
those are basically the three avenues, correct?
And the expert series, right?
Right.
As
Yeah,
well, that people can have access, and everything we do is free of charge.
yeah,
We
which
want,
is
and then we
huge.
want to make sure people have access to it. And then this is the reason why we started this new program in 23 regarding the starter, like skill set, because we wanted the people to have access more than just the expert series, but to have access to a program that could give them skills to start on something while waiting for the Family Connection program, right? Because the
Yeah,
Family Connection program is offered 3 times a year, in January, in June, and in September, in a weekly basis. And then at times, like I would say probably 3 times a year, we offer it in a weekend format. So it's a 2 weekend, 4 days, 2 weekend format that we can offer as well in between the session. But then if you missed that, then you were maybe 2, 3 months, or depending when, like even 4 months, waiting for the next group to start. And we say, we need to address this. We need the people to have access to some of the skills while waiting, because like you said, it's excruciating, being so close and not to have access. And while you need it now, and this is it. We say, like, when we sign up, often people need the information now. And this is why we created this in 23. And now when people sign up, they have access probably the next month or so to this program, right? So we're hoping it's really making a difference. And it start building the community. And then you said, like, the program as well, we have the walk. The walk is raising awareness, is really like breaking the stigma, showing that together we can do so much more, breaking those barriers that sometimes uh, because of that we don't have access to programming, and maybe as well to bring the organization a bit more forward. So this way we know that we exist and families can come to us. And how to access those programming, you go to our site on sashbear.org, and then you go to under the programming, and then under Family Connection, then you can sign up. And as soon as you sign up for the Family Connection program, then you'll have access to all the programming that we offer throughout the year.
Okay, so do you have to go through the Family Connections program to then take advantage of the education series as well? Or
No,
is that
that's a
totally
good,
separate?
yeah, it completely separate. You
Okay,
could go into the education series and sign up for that. We always recommend for people to sign up for the Family Connection program because we know that it takes a bit longer to have access. So
yeah,
you can sign up from day one, but in the meantime, you have access to many other programming that we're offering. And then if you don't want to do the Family Connection program, you can always pass
yeah, or
on to the
defer, yeah.
offer, or to say, I'm not ready now, maybe I'll take it a bit later. But it's important that you sign up for it, because this way, if you're really in need for it, then your name is already there and ready to take it at the next time it will
Right.
be offered.
Yeah, and even if you don't take it, understand there's a wait list, so there's always somebody else that can take that spot. So,
Exactly.
um, and all of your facilitators are all, like, I know you said it's an evidence-based program, and all the facilitators are basically peer support, have all been through the Family Connections program. Is
Yeah,
that
it's
correct? Yeah, yeah,
correct. Like how we do it is like you do the Family Connection program, and then after this, there's different way to keep up with your skills. Either you attend the alumni series or with the education, like with the expert series, or if you want to go deeper, I always say when you do the Family Connection program, we give you the essential, the base of the skills. And then after this, you need to find a way to, it's like a language, right? We say it's a language to
yeah,
immerse yourself into the language. So we always say the best way to really immerse, it would be to become a facilitator yourself, right? So then you do the program, and then if you're interested, if you want to do this, then we train you. And we say the training could take up to almost 2 years, because then you do the program, you observe the program, you attend all our training, and then you become a co-facilitator. And then if you want, you can lead a group afterwards, right? Like and we give you education, and then you have access to really deepen your knowledge on the skills, right? So this way, at the end of those 2 years, you're breeding the skills, and then you don't have to necessarily think, so which skill do I need for this situation? Because by teaching it, then it keeps it, like I always say, you keep it like at the forefront of your mind, right? And
yeah,
then by hearing as well the other families are attending, it helps you to even deepen the way that we apply the skills. It's a great I find it's a great way to become fluent into the language of the
yeah,
skills, right?
yeah. So the walk that's coming up, so you have and I'll post them in my YouTube thing afterwards for anybody who's interested, when the walks are and the dates and how you can get involved. So how, if someone does want to get involved, they would go to sashbear.org, and if you just want to go on there and donate to the walk, you can go ahead and do that. And I'm also going to post
Yes.
mine, but you can do that. But if you want to get involved, if you have someone in your life, if you have a loved one that you feel like this could be helpful for you, because sometimes people don't know. They just don't know that there's a problem. That's the other thing. How do you identify when this is more than teenage angst, when this is becoming a problem that you need to deal with?
Mhm.
So there's a lot of that happens. And then in terms of the your goal, like I think I'm just going to ask, like, in a perfect world, what would this look like for you? Where would Sash Bear go in a perfect world?
Mhm. I would say, like, I would like the skills to be available to anyone that is in need of it, right? Have no one left behind, and to be able to access to the skills almost in the moment, right? I need the skills. Where do I go? Here's where you can go and have access. So for this, the more funding we have, the more people we can train, the more group we can offer, And it's easier for the people when they sign up to have access to what is needed for them to either regain balance, to reduce the suffering, to become more effective in order to help their loved one. Because as family members or as someone helping, supporting someone struggling with their mental health, we are part of the solution. And we need to change this rhetoric to say we are part of the solution. We need to be educated. It's not because there's nothing wrong with us that we cannot have access to those services, right? And this is why we do a fundraiser, and we fundraise money every year to be able to continue, but as well to even raise more than expected to be able to do more like we did now with this starter like skill set, right? So
Yeah.
this is where like if we can do this way, when someone is struggling, we could be there and help them out. Say, here's how we can support you, support your loved one, right?
Yeah, and you had mentioned earlier that you help about 1,000 families a year, and I was doing some research yesterday, and I understand about 2.2 of the Canadian population has a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder. That's not including the people who don't. So that's a lot of people that still need help.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. So there's like you say, it all comes down to money at the end of the day. You need
Yeah.
money to offer these things, and everything that you do is free. And if anyone's had to go get counseling and pay for counseling, you know how expensive that is, and which means it's also off limits to a lot of people because it's too expensive. So people suffer through. So the 200,000 would go a long way. And I know the walk is coming up. I'm going to put that information in there and put, I know that also that, May. So a couple of exciting things that have had something I just want to mention about last year's walk that was really encouraging to me, because my whole life has been impacted by mental health issues within my family since I was a child. And so I've always been fascinated by people's minds and how these kind of things happen. But it's a little off topic, but what I was encouraged by at last year's Toronto walk was that you had two politicians there who are also talking about mental health, which I think is really, really important. And I think that's what has to happen. You had the local counselor there in Etobicoke who talked about her story about mental health. And then at the federal level as well is someone who was, I believe, a psychiatrist, correct me if I'm wrong, was a psychiatrist or was in the mental health field and is now in politics and is bringing the two together, which I think is super encouraging to see that kind of stuff happening. I know that May has been designated as Borderline Personality Disorder Awareness Month. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that will bring a lot of awareness to it as well. And I know that you have a lot of different things coming up where the lighting will be orange in support of borderline personality. So when you see the CN Tower lit up orange, that is not borderline personality, in honor of Sashbear, like, and the work that Sashbear is doing, which will bring awareness. So so that is
Yeah.
all really exciting.
Yeah, I want to say this is exciting that this year, first time in Canada, that the month of May will be recognized for borderline personality disorder. It was in the US, but it wasn't here. So we're very excited that we were able to change this and really like make it like a day. So this way it's not only for mental health, but with borderline personality disorder, because the stigma needs to be removed, right? And I would encourage for anyone listening or watching, please join us at the walk here in Toronto on May 26th, or depending on where you are, anywhere that we have a walk across the country, because you will be helping to break the stigma, right?
Yeah.
Because it's okay to seek help, right? I like to myself, I'm very visual. I like to use example. Like when we bring a car for a tune-up, it's not because the car is broken, because we don't want the car to be in pieces, right? And what will happen? It may break at some point, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll bring it to the shop and then they'll repair it. And I find our brain is a little bit like this. We need to do tune up once in a while to remove what doesn't need to be there, and then maybe like add stuff so this way our thinking works, or like so we stay into a healthy mode. And sometimes with pressure, with things that will happen in life, it may break. It may needs a bit more support, and we have to be kind to ourselves, right? We need to bring empathy and compassion. And it's important to recognize it. And I'm hoping you'll join us on May 26th in Toronto or any other one to be part of this movement to help us break the stigma, to show support to all the family members supporting and to our loved one. Because deep down, they want to feel that they're not alone, that if we understand them, and then we understand that they are being empowered and find their own way to have a life worth living.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And I know, so the walk, so May 26th is the walk here in Toronto, and that's in Etobicoke. And what's the name of the park? It's
Uh, because I want to say, like, it's at the
yeah,
Sunnyside Boardwalk
yeah,
and Sir Galsky Park, like, and
yeah.
it's Ellis and Lakeshore.
And it's a really nice day. It's that sea of orange that you see. Lynn is wearing an orange shirt. That is the Sash
Mhm.
Bear colors, and that sea of orange that you see, and just excuse me, like all the families there and the support and everything. It's really really beautiful to see. Maybe if I can figure it out, I'll maybe add one of the walks onto the end of this video on my YouTube channel so people can kind of see that. Or you can go to sashbear.org. You can see
Mhm.
some of the past walks. So will I now I'll just say, so I'm going to add my link in here after for my team. So on our team, we have at Casella Homes Real Estate, I mean, we're all big supporters and are big believers in supporting mental health awareness. And we just really want to support you guys as much as you can, as much as we
Mhm.
can. And we've come up with our goal is to raise $10,000 this year for the walk. I'd like to raise even more than that, but $10,000 to raise for the walk. So we are looking for support from people to make a donation. I mean, I really, just to put it, I need 100 people to donate $100 and we will have hit our goal. That's not a lot. I could spend $100 on Starbucks in a couple of months. So I think I'm going to take part of, like, instead of going to Starbucks, I'm going to donate to that
Mm.
instead. Anyway, yeah, thank you so much. I really, really, is there anything else that you would like to say before we go?
Well, I just want to say thank you for everything you do to bring the cause forward to help many, many others families that are in need because you understand the value of having support skills to be able to help loved ones that are struggling, and this can contribute in saving lives, right?
Yeah.
I truly believe it. Mm.
And it's really, for me, just a drop in the bucket compared to what you do and what you've done with your family story and that adversity. And I think, and I think every facilitator would agree with me that, when you've gone through hell and you've survived, you have an obligation to go back and help other people through there. That's my
Mhm.
personal philosophy. And so, you have
Mhm.
to go and help other people. So
Okay.
I really want to thank you for joining us, and I will see you at the walk. I have some more stuff to drop off for you. This week. And thank you so much. I would like to do a recap after the walk because I'm hell bent that you're going to hit that $2,000. Come hell or high water, we're going to get there. So thank you so much, Lynn. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this and everything that you do for families. It's really special.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate this. I want to say thank you for support and thank you for everyone. I hope to see you all at the walk on May 26th in Toronto.
Thank
Bye.
you.